Hello, hello. Welcome back to Soulstar Radio. I'm Jacquelene Closemore, coming to you live from Melbourne, Australia, which isn't always pronounced that way, but I thought I would. So happy Friday here in Melbourne, and Thursday, if you're in the US, Thursday evening. It's been quite an interesting week, and certainly a theme I've found over this week is, how do I know if they love me, or am I wasting my time? So what I would like to say in regards to that is that, sometimes people go into relationships very excited at the start. They're very much showing their best face or putting the best self forward. There can be kind of a whole thing there of, being love bombed, as some of my clients have found. I'm just looking at some of the comments, being love bombed. And so this is where someone comes in and they're like, hey, I'm gonna rock your world. I'm gonna save you from possibly worldwide floods, who knows, but they're going to make all sorts of promises, and this is where you can sort of, some people can find themselves quite taken in by that and by the image that they're being presented when they're first meeting this person, and, so it's kind of important to go into relationships and into dating with your eyes open. Hi, Linda, and go into dating with your eyes open, and to be looking not just at the wonderful side of this person you're meeting, but also look at their faults. Like, it'd be really great if people could come into dating and say, hi, this is me, here's where I'm damaged, here's the parts that are really good, just so you know, and this is what I've learned about myself from the stupidest thing I've ever done. What was your stupid moment? Because I think if you can laugh at yourself in relationships, or just in the way that you speak about yourself, then it can be really helpful, because you're able to show the true essence of what you've learned from your experiences. What can often happen is you get guys sort of saying, all my exes are crazy. And my question to that would be, well, were they crazy before, during, or because of their relationship with you? Like, what have you done to them? Because they can't all be that way. And if they are, well, what's going on with you? So I think it's just really important to be sort of more honest when you're looking at things yourself. Like, follow your heart, but take your brain with you. So, for example, if they're really nice to you, awful to the waiter, well, that's always a giveaway for me. If your friends are actually saying to you, look, really, what are you doing with this person? If your friends care about you and have a history that they can show of caring about you, and being functional, even better, then, it's going to be more likely that they're going to be able to give you a better guidance of whether this person is right for you or not. So I would look at those sorts of things. I also kind of think that, there's nothing like the truth that comes out of the mouths of babes and drunk people. Drunk people are really honest as well. Now, they could be honest about their dishonesty. They could be, because if you think about it, when people are having alcohol and maybe they're a bit tipsy or maybe they're a little bit gone, they're acting out how they would like to act if the society's norms weren't there. So, for example, if they are poetic and serenading you and only you, well, I think you're on a winner there. If you find, however, they're sleazing on to every other person there, whether this drunk person is a male or a female, if they're trying to sort of attract other mates and you're kind of their mate, well, then are you? If they're abusive and angry when they're drunk and they're always saying, well, it's not my fault because I was drunk, well, no, sorry, I'm not flying with that one. So it's just, look at those different things. Look at how they handle pressure. If every time they are under pressure, do they then project onto you? Do they accuse other people of the same very things that they're doing? I mean, that's probably the biggest warning flag I could have for you. So it's just really important to kind of, look at it with your eyes open, and also look at yourself. How have you been in that relationship? Were you too ready to make excuses for them? Were you yourself not opening up to someone who may have actually been there for you? So just sort of think outside that sort of box there. Also, the other thing is that sometimes people will be stuck in a relationship for absolutely years, and they're like, oh, but he's like this and he does that, and I'm like, and it's like, well, hang on a minute. he was really great. And I'm able to say to them, look, he was really great for the first 6 months, wasn't he? And he promised this and this and this and this. And they go, oh, my God, yeah. And then after 6 months, all of a sudden just went, boof. And it's been like that ever since. But you don't know. You just sort of see these glimmers of how he could be and how he used to be. And that's what you're holding on for, isn't it? And they'll go, yes. And I'll go, well, both of them are him. But, you know, if the actions are not matching the words, and if more of the actions are, are counterproductive or unhelpful or abusive or controlling, manipulative, or if every single the story they're telling you about themselves and their lives, they're either the victim, the hero, or the martyr, then warning bells back again. Although they're more like beepers, aren't they? But you know, it should be loud signals for you because, as I was sort of saying before, if they can sort of say and fess up to where they've gone wrong in their life and what they've learned from it, I actually would value that far more than someone who's telling you, that they're blameless and it was the other person all the time. Because if they're blameless and it was the other person all the time, chances are you'll end up instigating everything in that relationship, and then they'll go, but why did you make that decision without me? When they put you in the position of having to make choices, whether it's to pay the electricity bill on time, because don't worry about me that. Don't worry me about that right now. I don't have the time for it, or it's overwhelming. I can't deal with it. If they're leaving it to you all the time to instigate connection or to pay bills or all these sorts of things, and then when you go and do it, they're then blaming you for that as well. You really are wasting your time. It's time to sort of love you first is probably the best thing. But when you're in that situation, it's time to reevaluate at the very least. And if someone's willing to work on you with it and to look at how you can perhaps approach them in a way in which they're less likely to become defensive, but also they have to own the fact that they're becoming defensive and where you might be also becoming defensive. Like, how can we break down some of those communication barriers, be more honest with each other, and be able to get to that middle ground where you can be more open? And if that's just not possible, if they're not willing to work with you on that, and you don't feel that you can trust them, well, trust is central to a relationship. So I'd really think about these sorts of things when you're confused about a relationship, because otherwise you can just find yourself going around and around in corners of, hang on, something's up. What is it? Oh, that's what it is. Oh, but they're a really nice guy. Oh, they do all of these things for me. They tell me all these things. Oh, I'll go back to sleep now. Last a certain amount of time, then we're back to, something's not right. And you can go around and around this cycle so many times. I mean, just Google cycle of abuse and then click images, and you're going to get another level to this whole picture. It's if you actually Google the word cycle of abuse. But what I'm talking about there is, this awareness of something's not right, going into it and then finding the reasons to placate yourself or them and, it's really not that bad, and then going back to sleep and then coming back around and around and around and around. And this is where people can sort of say, I don't know why I keep going around and coming back to this same thing, but still staying because I know it's bad, but I just can't leave. So, have a think about it, step back when you're in those sorts of situations, step right back and look at it from a bit of a different perspective. Take the time out and perhaps have less exposure to that person for a short amount of time while you're working out where you really sit with it. So this is what I wanted to cover today before I get into the readings, is about that aspect of relationships, because it's been coming up quite a bit this week. And thank you for all of you writing in there. And Jojo's talking here about an ex. Hi. Someone's saying, hello, Jacqueline. I've got Jojo saying, my ex blamed me for my baby's death and today it hurts. And I'm so sorry to hear that, Jojo. I just want to send you out a whole heap of love and light. It's really difficult when we have, a passing of someone, and we should never have to bury our own children. And so I'm sending you out all of my love and condolences. I'm so sorry to hear that. But you need to work on your healing with this, which I feel you have been doing. But you need to work on your healing with this so that you're not carrying all of that with you, because sometimes people can wrongly blame the other partner, when there are circumstances outside of that that have happened, and I'm not really seeing this as something that you've caused or done. So I just want to send my love and healing to you, and I know that there are other supportive people around you, so stick with them and, work the best way that you can with that, and take the gentle steps with yourself. Sometimes exes can blame us for things. They can blame us for the end of a relationship. The thing is that sometimes relationships just don't work out, and it's just really important to not stay stuck on the idea of having to apportion blame to one side or the other. You've really got to be able to go, all right, well, this didn't quite work out. We tried. We can't quite communicate. We're not on the same page, all of these sorts of things. So it's just really important to look at it in a bit of a different way. And if the other person's not looking at it in that other way, try not to take on board what they're trying to load you up with. So there you go. That's that part. Let's get on to these readings. Now, I've got Penny in Denver, Colorado. Are you there, Penny?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello and welcome to the show. Thanks so much for calling in. It's lovely to hear you this evening. If I can get your date of birth at all, I can start doing a reading for you.
5/7/66.
And is that the 7th of May?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, just so I'm really clear. What I've really got with you is you have very strong ideals, very high sense of, your personal standards are quite strong in how you see things, your work ethic, how much effort you put into things. And so you can at times be a bit flawed if other people are not, you're coming through with the same level of integrity, the same level of energy. That's where you can sort of find yourself being a bit stumped at times, if that makes sense. Also, I would feel that there can be at times where people are really pushing on your boundaries, even though you'll be trying to do the right thing by them. There can be times where you're actually having to take a step back as well. And the most important person you have to listen to is yourself. You'll tend to find that you get intuitions about things also, and that when you're listening to that, it works out quite well. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Now, any question you want me to look at for you today?
Yes, I'm thinking about moving to another state here in a few months, and I want to know what you see for that.
Actually, I'm rather excited about it. I've actually got the the fairy ring cards out today, and it feels like where you have been living has come to a bit of an end, come to a bit of a full stop. You've gone as far as you can go on a number of things. It feels like you're ending a cycle there. So patterns and things that have been going on there, it's like we're going into a complete change here. I would see this being really fortuitous, and it's like as if there's a whole new breathing of life into the things around you, clarity, clearing, healing, opportunity, abundance, and being able to feel more at home, I think, also with the community you're going into, if that makes sense.
Yes, ma'am. Can I ask one more thing?
Certainly.
I'm going through a legal battle with an ex-boss of mine. I want to know if you see anything with that.
It's interesting. I was just talking about exes. And I think that you're dealing with this in the best way you can. I do feel that there have been a number of tricky points in this situation. And this is actually involving the law, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, no, it feels really quite tricky, but I do feel that you are dealing with this the best way possible with the resources that you have. I feel as if you're going to be able to get the best outcome you can under these circumstances, which once again are quite tricky. Any trickiness that's going on the other side, I do feel that will be revealed. So if there's any kind of manipulations going on the other side, it's like that comes to light and does complicate their side of things, which makes it a bit easier for you down the track. To me, what I'm talking about is not going to take a matter of days or weeks. It feels like this is revealing itself over a number of months, even up to a year, maybe a year and a half. But it's like if things are not quite favourable at this point in time, they do end up swinging back around. I think revenge can be a very dangerous tool, and we're certainly seeing that played out in US politics right now. And And so you are not the revengeful person, but when Regulus, the asteroid Regulus, which is 29 degrees Leo, is misused for revenge, it brings the whole house of cards tumbling down. Sometimes that can take a little while to come out, but when it does, it's spectacular. And let me say that Regulus is looking after you. You are being shined on well by Regulus. The other person, however, well, there's nothing much we can do about that. I do feel that you wish that this could be could we just have this peaceful, amicable, could this just be over already? There's a way to make this work, but I don't feel the other side is being that way. And I do feel that, as I said, I'd Google Regulus later because I feel as if that's got something to play here. And I haven't looked at the other person's actual chart, haven't got any information from you about that, don't need it. I just feel like Regulus is playing a rather interesting part in that. And I do think there's been a couple of dramatic shifts with that recently, particularly over the last year. It's going to take a little while to swing back around, but when it does, I do think you'll be happy with the result, which all you're really wanting is fairness. So I do think you get fairness at the end, even if it takes a while and a couple of turns to get there. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, ma'am. It does.
No, she's gone.
I know, I'm here.
That's all right. I think we've got another caller on the line there. So hopefully that's making sense to you, Penny, and hopefully you can hear back on the podcast. Feel welcome to get back in touch with me. There she is, yes. So does that make sense to you there, Penny?
It does, and I thank you so much for your information. It all makes
You're absolutely welcome.
A lot of sense.
Absolutely welcome. Feel free to get in touch with me if you need, particularly if you need one more question answered on that you can't ask on air, if you know what I mean, which I think you do. So you can contact me if you go into soulstar.media. You can contact me through there and I'll clarify if there's anything else we needed to discuss. That other question I think is there. So feel free to ask that in private because it feels like that has to be off air. So sending you lots of love there, Penny. Thank you for your call. Now we'll go to that next caller. We do have Michelle in Hickory, North Carolina. What is with me today? Are you there? Are you there, Michelle?
Yes, I am.
Hello, and thank you for your call. It's wonderful to hear from you. There's a wonderful light, a lot of yellow around you, and so there's a lot of where you're busy trying to make people kind of feel the joy, even if you're not feeling it at the time yourself. Sometimes there's a bit of difficulty talking about what's going on for you emotionally, if that makes sense.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Now, any question you wanted me to look at for you today?
I'm sorry. You said, is there any question? What? Hello?
We can't quite hear Michelle. I think she might have had a microphone on in the background there. There we go. Are you there, Michelle?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Now, sorry, was there a question you wanted me to look at for you today, darling?
Nothing in particular. I just have a lot going on.
You certainly do. What I really want you to do at the moment is really practice when you get the chance, just take a seat, have all the noises off, do this when no one else is home, and just sit and breathe and put the hands, cross them and then pop them over the tummy and breathe right down deep and watch your tummy expand and moving your hands in and out a bit, okay? Taking a few deep breaths can actually help you to deal with what's going on for you, which can feel really overwhelming at the moment because everything's kind of pulling you in a number of different directions. So, to me, I just feel as if it's difficult for you to actually express how you feel, to actually speak that out, because it's sort of like if you start bringing it out, it's like everything will cascade at one time. So it's just going to be important to literally take the time for yourself every now and again and just take that step to breathe, because that can bring you back into yourself to deal with things. There can be kind of a desire to just not be fully present and sort of have your mind in a few other places, but that kind of doesn't help either. I'd also be working with things like keeping lists at the moment, just writing down what the priorities for today are, and just literally putting them in order. After you've written them all down, put them back into some kind of order and then go through them one at a time, with some of the aspects here. Certainly financially, I think it's been quite up and down and difficult for you. You just have to kind of hang on to things at the moment, how they are, and just take literally one step at a time. To me, it feels like we're dealing with loss here too, and I want you to know that you are cared for, loved and protected by people on the other side, and not alone through this period in your life. And it's just, you just have to take this literally one day at a time, one step at a time. I'd be seeking local counselling resources near to you as much as you can, and if you can be in some kind of a meditation group that can help give you, I guess, the moral support as well. I think that would be a really kind of important aspect to be looking at as well. So I just sort of want you to reach out to those kinds of resources just to help you with the different things going on here. But I do feel that over the next number of months, particularly 6 to 8, I feel like there's going to be a shift in your energy here. That makes it a little bit easier to deal with the day-to-day things, and particularly, a bit more freedom of movement, a bit more sort of feeling as if some of this pressure is being lifted off you. I do feel there's still things to be dealt with there on a financial level, but it's like you're going to be able to consolidate a lot of that and bring it under control. But it's literally at the moment just taking one step at a time is the important thing. I think also working out which battles to take on, and choosing those wisely is very important. And that's why the lists and prioritising things can help you deal with stuff right now, rather than trying to tackle everything at once, because it's just too immense otherwise. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Yeah, you've just got to really just, pull this out one thing at a time. I'd prioritise what you can do today. You're worrying about everything, not just the things you can do, but you're worrying about the things you can't fix, you can't do. And the thing is, you don't have the energy to be worried about the things you can't fix and can't do, because, they're kind of already not going to work. So it's sort of like you have to be able to just deal with the things, and this is why I'm writing out the list. It's like writing out the list of the things you need to sort out and focusing on them. It brings you more into the present moment, and it actually, in a way you can sort of be calling out to the universe and going, hey, look, could you bring me some help with this? I'm open to receiving help with this. With where I am in my life right now, I'm open to receiving that. And then you go about the work of that, and then the universe will start responding and bringing you people, I feel. But yeah, it's going to be through both methodical, practical, rational, looking at things and consolidating things, that gets a lot of this under control. But also, once you're starting to do that, while just keeping open to receiving help, from others, I do feel the right people are going to start coming right on in. So I hope that assists you with a bit of a couple of steps forward. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, feel free to get in touch. Once again, you can contact me through the website. You can also find me on Facebook if you need to, just if there's any clarification from what I've said. So I hope that helps you today, Michelle. I'll be sending you a lot of love and healing after the show as well. Now, Jojo has also written back. She was 8 months old. He blamed me because of my guilt. I would love a reading for my future. Jojo, with you as well, it's interesting. We sort of had this thing about relationships today, and there's a lot going on there. With you, with this situation, it just comes back to that thing of having to really distance yourself from those who are placing unfair projections on you. That's the most important thing. That will actually help you step forward in your life with where you're going. I do feel that you've been working a lot on getting to quieten your mind a lot more, getting to find your calm, to find purpose in things, and you've been kind of just, okay, this is the next step, this is the next step, this is the next step. A bit like what Michelle's having to do right now. She's having to sort of find the steps and start taking them. You've already done a lot of these steps, and so it's putting you in the right place. And I do feel when I'm looking at your future, it actually feels very light and clear to me. There's not a lot of obstructions there that there were in the past. And a lot of those obstructions in the past really had to do with the lessons you were learning and the experiences you were going through karmically. That is you're already on the right path now, and it's just important to just keep going along that way. I could certainly do a more detailed reading for you at a later stage, but that's what I can do at this stage, from the perspective of what I've sort of seen here. So I do really wish you the absolute best there, Jojo, and everyone else who's been writing in. Sorry I couldn't answer everyone today or take all of the calls today as well. We can only do so many calls per show because we're also dealing with, kind of looking at different issues as well. So certainly I'll be sending healing, love and light to anyone and everyone who's been watching, tuning in, listening or writing, after this show. And certainly after my show, there'll be another number of shows this evening where there'll be other psychics on air willing to take your calls, and looking forward to hearing from you. In the meantime, I'm going to be signing on out, and I'll be back same bat time, same bat channel next week. But in the meantime, if you want to get in touch, you can find me on Soulstar Radio through Facebook. You can also find me on the website, which is soulstar.media. I do both unpaid readings where we're doing them on air for free for you on A1R, and I also do paid readings privately. So if you're sort of a bit shy, don't want to have reading on air, I can always do that for you privately over the net, over the phone or face-to-face, just so that you know how that all works and where it all is. In the meantime, I'm going to be sending you lots of healing, love and light, and going to wish you the very best for this weekend, and certainly God bless America and God bless the world. Lots of love. In the meantime, let's get singing. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, then you really ought to show it. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands.